Sorry about the lag at the beginning. It just now told me that it was at 11 seconds. Anyways, so we're here in week 3. The Chiefs have the 49ers this weekend. They're coming into the matchup 1-1. They lost a tough one to Minnesota. Minnesota's a tough team. They played them pretty close. Kansas City's 2-0. They beat Pittsburgh. They beat Los Angeles, the Chargers. So I'm just going to say this right out of the gate. Richard Sherman's talking shit, and this is the first time that I don't know about anybody else, but this is the first time I've ever heard him say anything since he got out of Seattle because there's nothing to talk about. He's just an average corner. I mean, he had his good years in Seattle when he had the defense to back him up. He's not. I mean, the past 3 years in the NFL, he's been outranked by so many corners, it's not even funny. Like, he had 0 for a long time, I think 2 seasons ago, and somebody said, oh, that's because they don't throw at him. They threw at him. But the point is, he's talking shit, he's throwing stuff around, he's like, oh, the Steelers' defense is awful. I dare them to put that man on Tyreek Hill. Actually, that's probably who he's going to line up against, because that's the only corner they got. So, I dare them to put him on Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill will shut that man-child up. I don't even know why he's talking. You don't have any room to talk. You lost to Minnesota. Minnesota's a good football team, but you've proven that you can't beat good football teams. So they went and they beat the Lions last week. I think it was 30-17 or something like that, 30-20, I don't know. But the point is, the Lions aren't that good. And the Lions absolutely mauled Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, mauled him. They hit him so many times I couldn't even count. And that was just a highlight film. They beat the shit out of that guy. So, with that being said, we're going to look at a few stats here and just kind of get an idea of what we're walking into. Patrick Mahomes has played absolutely amazing on the road. He's handled the pressure. He's been calm back there. Like he doesn't have a care in the world. So, total yards per game, we end up ahead of San Francisco by almost 80 yards. Which, by the way, this is our home opener. We beat Philadelphia last year in the home opener. We're pretty good in home openers, and Patrick Mahomes has played great on the road. I can't wait to see how he's going to play at home. I bet you he is going to play out of his mind at home, especially with that crowd behind him. So it'll be good to play at home for once. Sorry, I got off topic. Passing yards per game, we're obviously way ahead of him. Jimmy Garoppolo is averaging 196 yards a game. He's got 146 overall, 3 touchdowns. Rushing yards, this is where they beat us. They beat us by 30, but I believe this is because we didn't run the ball much against Pittsburgh. We really didn't. We was throwing it all over the place against Pittsburgh, which is a great way to play that ball game, by the way, because he knew he was going to have to out-duel Roethlisberger, and they just let him loose, and he just threw it all over the place. So, before going any further, Eric Berry will not play again, but I don't see this as a downside. I see this as an upside, as the defense can use this game against a weaker offense to try to regain themselves. Personally, I get it. The Niners played the Vikings very close. There is no reason why we shouldn't stomp a mud hole through this team. There's no reason with the defense that they have and the sad offense that I won't say sad offense, but the mediocre offense. They scored 30 on the Lions, but there's no reason why this shouldn't be a 49-17 victory. I mean, it should be an absolute blowout. Jimmy Garoppolo can simply not keep up with other defenses. if they pressure Jimmy, there's no reason why they shouldn't win this game. There's no reason why the defense shouldn't give up, 17, 20 points. There's no reason for it. So, with that being said, that's just how I feel about it. Jimmy Garoppolo looks mediocre compared to Mahomes. He's almost thrown for as many yards as Mahomes has, but he's only got 3 touchdowns. They only have 1 rushing touchdown. It just there's just no reason why we should lose to this team. I get it. Any given thing can happen any given Sunday, but they're just not up to par with Kansas City. Even with our defense being, mediocre in the past 2 games, there's no reason why this offense should be able to come in and just duel it out with Mahomes. There's no reason for it. So that's pretty much the statistics side of things. It's not really showing anything about defense here, but obviously their defense is going to be more stout than ours. Here we go. Defensive comparison. Yards per game, we're obviously allowing a hell of a lot more. We're averaging, we're letting go of about 500 yards a game, 508 to be exact. Passing yards, we're allowing about 430. They're only allowing 278. I guarantee you that's going to change. Rush yards, San Francisco's allowing 107, so expect to see a lot of run. Points per game allowed, they're averaging 25. We're averaging 32. Third down conversion percentage allowed, they are 42%. We are 27. That's actually not bad for how bad our defense has played. And Mahomes already moves the ball on third down against other defenses. Imagine what he's going to do to these guys, Our rush defense looks good though. They're only giving up 78 on an average a game. That's really not that bad. Time of possession, San Francisco is one of those teams that loves to hang on to the ball. But then again, Kansas City's had a ton of time possession too. Just for the fact that Mahomes doesn't give it up. And he doesn't stall out on drives. He just keeps going. Points per game, they're allowing 23. We're allowing 40. I don't really know how that's the average when we've allowed 28 and 37, but I'm sorry. Brain fart. Okay, let me back up. We are averaging 40 points a game, and they are averaging 23. So the defense is usually pretty stout to start out the game, and then they kind of taper off. They get a little bit conservative. So that's the deal there. So I'm just going to leave it at that. That's the bare bones. That's how I feel about it. These guys are not even on the same field as us when it comes to offense. Defense, I don't think they stand a chance. I just don't. Richard Sherman's not who he used to be. Even if he does cover Tyreek Hill and he does a decent job against him, who's going to cover the other 6? Who? What corners do they have that's going to cover these other 6? Did nobody watch did he not watch the Pittsburgh game with Joe Hayden and TJ Watt? The O-line in Kansas City is blocking phenomenal. They are blocking phenomenal. And if we have to run the ball, it's going to happen. Triple option, power option, it's going to happen. So my guess is they're going to run the ball a lot Sunday. Especially, I'm sure you can hear the thunder, maybe. Especially if it rains at Arrowhead. It's going to be a wet, messy field. Don't get me wrong, Pat's probably still going to sling the shit out of that ball. But I just, I'm a rational fan. I usually call it how I see it. We got Denver next week. That's probably going to be a worthy opponent because it's a division game. But my final verdict, I just don't see it. I don't see a reason the 49ers will win, especially if we get really good pass rush, which is something we've kind of been lacking. But when you rush 3 guys, what do you expect? But there's no reason why we shouldn't throttle this team. There's no reason. Richard Sherman is not going to change that defense. Final verdict on 49-20, 49-24. That's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a complete and absolute blowout. Good home opener. Mahomes have another good game. Rushing game's going to be good. Defense is going to get to come together a little bit, and then hopefully we'll have Eric Berry back by Denver because we'll need him. So that's my verdict on that. That's how I feel about it. So in other words, around the league, we're going to look at other teams that are in our division, see who they're playing. Denver's 2-0. They're playing Baltimore, who's 1-1, coming off a tough loss against Cincinnati, which, by the way, that Denver game will be a Monday night game, so they'll have more time to recoup and plan. If you watch my videos, I actually took Baltimore in this one. I just think they're overall tougher than Denver. I think they're going to be pissed off after that division loss to Cincinnati. Cincinnati looks like a tough team this year. And Baltimore has phenomenal offensive weapons, way more than what Denver does. And this year and last year, it's kind of been about offense. The Super Bowl came down to who had the best offense. And this year's kind of going the same way. But I'm going to take Baltimore in that one. I already picked them in my other video. I just think they're going to be the ones that knock off Denver. I think Denver's got a little bit more stout defense. That'll be a good test for Mahomes. He beat them last year when they had a better corner. So I'm not too worried. Honestly, with the way Mahomes is playing, if he keeps doing that, I'm not worried about anybody. We went and ran it down the Chargers' throat with 100 yards rushing, and then we turned around and just let Mahomes just throw it all over the damn place against Pittsburgh. Didn't even try to run it. I'm not worried about anybody right now. I'm not worried about the Patriots. I'm not worried about the Jaguars. I'm not worried about Minnesota, even though we don't play them this year. I'm not worried about anybody. I think this team can compete with anybody in the league. The defense needs to come together, but I think they can. I think they can compete with anybody in the league. So that's Baltimore and Denver. Let's see here. Oakland's playing Miami. Sorry, Oakland, but I think you're going 0-3. They won the last 3 meetings in Miami. Miami's better. They're just better. Gruden's all over the place. His coaching is kind of weird. They seem to play for a half and then fall apart. And John Gruden comes out of half and one thing's working, so he tries another, and then he just sticks with it and it blows up in his face. I know there at the end of the game against Denver, he ran man defense with the game on the line. Why? In man defense, they're running 10-yard out routes, curl routes, anything that's quick and hittable that they can get out of bounds on, and it's a one-on-one coverage. And those are the hardest routes to defend. And when you stick one guy out there and they catch a ball in the middle of the field, and that guy misses that tackle, it's 10, sometimes 15 more yards before somebody else is even there, let alone if he makes a tackle. And that's where they got screwed. They caught, I want to say it was a post or a slant over the middle, or maybe a curl route. The guy missed the tackle and he took off at the sidelines. Set them in great position for a field goal. They won the game, which they also missed an extra point, which was somewhat tipped. They're just a sloppy team, man. They can't pull it together. And I think they're going to go 0-3, and next week they'll probably go 0-4, and it'll send them right into the ditch. So right now I'm thinking Denver is probably our biggest threat. Moving on from that, we have the Chargers playing the Rams. I wouldn't say this is a Rams' first big test, but defensively, it's going to be a test for him. Phillip Rivers is no joke. He's putting up points this year. It's going to be a test for him. And I do think the Rams are going to win that game, which would help us out. That'd send the Chargers down to 1-2, 0-1 in the division. Oakland would be 0-3, 0-1 in the division. So Denver would be our only threat. And if they lose that game, that'd just help us out that much more. But the Chargers, they're going to put up a good fight, but I got the Rams. Like I said, I don't think the Rams are as good as what people think they are. You know, they haven't really played anybody. Well, this is a decent offense, and I think that decent offense is going to at least put 24 on them. Moving on down the line. Gosh, is that it? That's it for the division. So our divisional rivals, they have some tough opponents this week. And after this Denver game, we're going to go into a very hard 6-game stretch. It will be. It'll be a very hard 6-game stretch. God, I can't talk right now. And just to give you Chiefs fans an idea of how hard this stretch is going to be after we play Denver in Week 4. So we're going to come off that Monday night game, and we're going to go into Week 5. And this is going to let you know how rough it's going to get. And to me, this is going to be Mahomes' actual test. You know, this is going to be a huge test for Mahomes going down this stretch. Week 5, we got Jacksonville, but we're at home. The next week we have, which is Week 6, we have New England in Foxborough. And then Week 7, I want to say, it's loading in right now. I want to say we have Cincinnati at Cincinnati in Week 7, but we're going to find out. Sorry if you see a fly come across the camera. I got some annoying flies in here. One to be exact. I got an electric zapper over there. I just need to get a hold of him. But Cincinnati and the Rams are a little bit on down the road in the mix. But either way, you get the point. It's been another long video. I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here. I'll see you guys after Sunday.